Hey guys, welcome to conversation number 9. In this conversation, we're going to be asking the question, what is the difference between essential, important, and personal elements? Here's the answer we're going to break down and explore. Essential elements are things that are necessary for salvation, while important elements do not save us, but are important to help us follow Jesus faithfully. And finally, personal elements are matters of opinion that don't come with clear direction from God. Now, let's take that answer and break it down into its pieces. The first part tells us that essential elements are the things that are necessary for salvation. Let's think about what that means. Essential. Let's say you're building a chair. What are the essential parts that you need to build a chair? Well, you can start with that a chair needs to be made of something that is pretty solid and stable, like, say, wood. Then it needs to have a flat surface of some sort so that you can actually sit on it. And then also, for it to be a chair, you need to have legs to be raised off the ground. These are all essential parts that must be in place if this thing you're building is going to end up being a chair. Otherwise, it will either be part of a chair or not a chair at all. To make a chair, you have to have certain elements. If you remove one of the essentials, you removed the end product. It becomes incomplete. An essential element of our faith then is something that has to be in place if we're going to be saved. This means that there are some parts of our faith that are so important that we can't be saved without them. This is what we mean by essential, something that has to be there in order for us to be saved. In contrast to that, the second part of our answer talks about important elements. It says that important elements do not save us, but are important for us as they help us follow Jesus faithfully. The Apostle Paul wrote a letter to the church in Corinth. In fact, he wrote several letters, and we have 2 of them in the Bible. And as he wrote in the first letter to Corinth, he was writing to the church and addressed them as people who were saved. We see that in the first couple verses of the letter. So Paul understood, as he was writing this letter to the church in Corinth, he understood that these believers understood the essentials of faith. But throughout his letter to the Corinthian church, Paul pointed out several things, several areas where they were not following Jesus in the right way. For example, people in the church at Corinth were jealous of each other, fighting with each other, and being out of control in many ways. Even though they were saved, they needed to keep pursuing the important elements of their faith to learn how to follow Jesus better, how to follow Jesus more faithfully. Elements that Paul addressed are things like love, things like unity, using God-given gifts, and knowing how to worship properly, and so much more that he covered are the things that are very important for us as we live and grow as followers of Jesus Christ. But they are distinct from the essential elements associated with salvation itself. Now, lastly, it's important to distinguish the essential elements and the important elements from what we call the personal elements. As our answer explains, that personal elements are matters of opinion that don't come with clear distinction from God. It's incredibly sad when Christians treat each other badly because they disagree on something that isn't a big deal in the Bible or isn't mentioned in the Bible at all. For example, Christians might be mean to each other because they vote differently on election day. But these kind of arguments are just about opinions, even if the opinion is based on good things. Does the Bible tell us who to vote for specifically? No. This is one of those areas where we as Christians have a lot of freedom. When it comes to areas in which are just a matter of personal opinion, we call them personal elements. And personal elements, again, are matters of opinion that don't come with clear direction from God. We might say that God is silent on certain issues. That is, that the Bible does not directly address or talk about certain things. And do you know, as many people should, that not everything is worth arguing about? This is a tough question in our society today when we want to argue over the littlest things. But there are some times, a lot of times in fact, when it's good to be able to just simply agree to disagree and move forward. There were times when people wanted Jesus himself to get involved in an argument to help them settle the argument with Jesus helping them win their side. But he told them that, hey, that's not what I'm here for. That wasn't something worth arguing about. In fact, in Luke chapter 12, verses 13 through 15, there was someone in the audience when Jesus was teaching that wanted Jesus to settle a debt that he had with a family member or inheritance that he had with a family member. And Jesus says, no, that's not what I'm here for. And then proceeded to teach them about the importance of not being greedy. You see, for us, we need to keep the essential elements and the important elements as higher priorities than our own personal opinions or our personal preferences. So, as we break down this important question today, what is the difference between essential, important, and personal elements? The answer we talked about was that essential elements are those things that are necessary for salvation. The important elements do not save us, but are important to help us follow Jesus faithfully. And finally, personal elements are matters of opinion that don't come with clear direction from God. Now, as a family, we encourage you to walk through the Continuing the Conversation handout and join us each week as we take time to reflect on the unity of the church and the essential beliefs that we have together. Thank you.